Hi, I'm Bob Grant, and you're about to learn why more men are avoiding committing to a woman until they experience this one thing. In fact, as a licensed relationship counselor, I'm starting to hear women tell me about an alarming trend. They sit in my office and tell me about the man they loved who told them how deeply he cared for them, and then days, weeks, or even years later, suddenly he falls out of love. The discouraging part is that I'm hearing this happen over and over again, and it's only getting worse. As a family man, I'm seeing that men seem to be less interested in staying committed to a woman. Because what I've noticed is that unlike the 1950s, men and women have lots more options. Dating apps like Down give men access to thousands of women just with the touch of a button. Websites like Adult Friend Finder actually target committed, even married men, all with this promise. You can betray the woman who loves you and she'll never find out. And with all these options, I've noticed a trend that so many men aren't allowing their relationships to naturally develop, and so many women end up heartbroken as a result. For the last 15 years, I've worked with over 1,100 couples and singles, and I've discovered there are 5 distinct stages that create a deep, intimate bond within a man. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to know which phase you're in right now. But before I discuss this, let's talk more about this epidemic I'm seeing. So many women open their hearts to a man because he tells them he loves them and promises his devotion. And yet these same women often miss this key warning sign. For no apparent reason, the passion in the relationship starts to fade away. It's as though the very life of the relationship is slowly bleeding to death. He stops texting as often. He doesn't want to talk on the phone as long as he once did. And he begins to hide things from her. So many women believe they will be safe when they find the right man, but they don't realize the power of these vast corporations that are constantly targeting their wonderful man. Ashley Madison spends millions of dollars making having an affair seem as innocent and exciting as getting a date to the prom. Then there's the app Mixer, which enables you to download, find, and meet someone for a quick hookup in less than 30 minutes. I've heard so many relationships ending because a man got bored and ended up looking up some of his past girlfriends. A few chats, then some text, and before long he was chasing a dream from the past. The term friends with benefits has become so acceptable that they even made it into a popular movie. There are so many companies that are working to lure men away from staying committed, all in the name of making money, regardless of how many relationships they ruin. Is it any wonder that the Washington Post has reported that there are more single adults than married ones for the first time ever? Before I continue, I want to say, if you're fine with the friends with benefits approach, then this presentation isn't for you, because I've seen how horribly that ends. And after I listened to Beth's story, I realized she was like so many women who never realize they are at risk of having their man fall out of love, of having their families broken apart, of having the man that fell head over heels in love with them in a moment of weakness fall victim to the constant onslaught from the hookup industry. That day, as I sat there listening to Beth, I realized I had to do something. I could help her because she met me. But what about those thousands of women I'd never be able to help? What I needed was a way to share this with every woman. So for the next 7 weeks, I began writing out the exact sequence every man must go through to fall deeply in love with a woman. I went back and looked over everything I learned in graduate school. I showed women how to speed up this sequence, and I put it into an easy-to-follow program that flat out worked. When I was done, I sat back and smiled because I had created the key to make a man bond faster, stronger, and deeper. It's called the Bonding Code, and I'm going to show you the emotional pathway that opens up a man's deepest desires and creates a faster, stronger, and deeper bond that will knit his heart to yours forever. The best part is, you don't have to memorize all this cutting-edge science or do any hard work. Instead, you just need to follow a few simple instructions, and his unconscious alpha mating sequence will do all the work for you. Here's what's inside, the greatest predictor of how he'll treat you in the future. It's so accurate, no man will ever be able to fool you again with false promises. How to use the expectation gap so that he'll never become bored with you. The tension method that melts away even the worst case of commitment phobia. The most deadly mistake you can make with a man. It's so toxic that it can make a man question whether he ever loved you. 2 ingredients that make any man infatuated with you. Lightly sprinkle these on his heart, and it's your secret love potion. How to use a man's fears of commitment against him. Use my judo technique, the independent switch, and the stronger his fears and doubts, the more intensely he'll come running back to you. He'll develop calluses trying to text you every moment when you use the fear bait formula. What to do when he's upset, how to respond when he's angry so that he'll actually feel closer to you and beg your forgiveness for ever upsetting you. one thing you can't do when he's overwhelmed or distant. It's like kryptonite to Superman, and he'll feel like he's drowning every time you come near unless you use this secret antidote. Think sharing your feelings brings him closer? It does, but only if you know the levels of disclosure method. It's so simple, but women are amazed at how intimate their conversations become. The one quality you must see before you give a man your heart. It has a 98% accuracy rate of predicting how he'll treat you in the future. You'll know the difference between good and bad tension. One will arouse his passion. The other could make him despise you. The exact cocktail of emotions that causes his mind to go from being guarded to vulnerable. If you leave out just one ingredient, he'll feel like he tasted a watered-down drink. The one emotion that makes a man question his relationship with you. Just follow my instructions, and I'll show you how to use my normalizing technique that will make him putty in your hands, and so much more. But now I want to give you the 5 bonding phases that I promised you earlier so you can see where you're at right now. So phase 1 is interest, and to be honest, this is the easiest part. Just glance through a Victoria's Secret magazine with push-up bras, makeup, and everything frilly, and you'll see how easy it can be to get a man's attention. Here's some signs you have his interest. He looks at you when you're speaking. He talks with your friends. He stands within 3 feet of you and doesn't move away, which often leads to phase 2, an emotional arousal. During this phase, you'll notice him wanting to see you more often. His feelings have been stirred up, and now he's looking at you like a hungry bear, and you're the honeypot. But there's a danger ahead, and so many women don't understand this. Because what happens after this point is phase 3, a period of disillusionment, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's often quite natural, and yet this is where the bonding predators start targeting a man. While innocently scrolling the internet, they'll come upon an ad for Ashley Madison, or click on the Plenty of Fish app. Because he's feeling dejected or having some doubts, he could easily give in to their tempting offers of immediate gratification. You'll know you're in this phase when he stops texting you as much, doesn't want to tell you any details about his life, and for no apparent reason, he stops wanting to go out as often. He says nothing is wrong, but you can feel him pulling away. In his mind, something is wrong, and he can't explain it. He remembers the times when his passion for you is so intense that he couldn't sleep all night, but now he doesn't feel the strong attraction that he did in the beginning. As his intensity fades, he starts to panic. Soon he begins visiting places on the web that entice him to betray his true love, telling him he should never have any doubts, that they have the perfect woman for him if he'll just go to their website or download their app. And unless you know how to handle this phase, often that's just exactly what he'll do. It's easy to panic during this phase, wondering if he still loves you, or if he ever loved you enough. But if you know how to respond during this crisis, you'll enter phase 4, the testing phase. You're getting close, but just before every calm, there's a bit of a storm. During this phase, he may start getting upset over silly things, like you being late, but it never seemed to bother him before. Begin making excuses for not wanting to see you more often and express doubts about your relationships. If you make it through this phase, you now enter phase 5, the bonding phase. Now, since you're here right now, you're probably not in this phase. So let me tell you about this magical place. In his heart and mind, he is now under your spell and couldn't be more happy. He looks deeply into your eyes when you're speaking, grabs your hand in public for no apparent reason. In this phase, he has made his choice. You are the only woman for him. Your happiness has become what he most desires, and he's miserable when he feels he can't make you happy. Then it happens. He realizes that it is pointless to look for another woman. He's found what he's been searching for his entire life. Now all he wants is to spend the rest of his life with you. So hopefully you can tell where you're at in these phases right now. So now you know you're going to get the emotional connection, and you're going to go through this disillusionment phase, and you must get through this, because this is when your man will be at his weakest. Now that you know about these phases, you can figure out how to navigate a man through them on your own, but why do that when I've already spent thousands of hours researching what has worked for hundreds of women? So how much is it worth to know that one special man is insulated from all the affair predators that will try and steal him from you? Don't think the temptations of Facebook, Mixer, and Adult Friend Finder will go away once he's in a relationship with you. I only wish that were true. There's huge money to be made by these large corporations that prey on a man's momentary weaknesses, and they are relentless. How much is it worth to have him fantasize about you instead? Week after week, month after month, and even year after year. How much is it worth to know that no matter what happens, he'll always be deeply in love with you? I've worked with countless smart and beautiful women who ignored my warnings. Then when their relationship hit phase 3, this familiar pattern began. First, she panics. Next, she shares her feelings with him, all of her feelings, just hoping he'll reassure her of his love and desperately wanting him to explain what's wrong. But he can't. Her attempts actually backfire and only reinforce his fears, like putting gasoline onto a burning fire. Most men don't even realize this secret code, and they certainly can't tell you which phase they're in or how to fix it. I don't want you to ever go through this living hell, so I want to make this an absolute no-brainer for you. Since my one-on-one clients pay me over $1,800 for these life-changing secrets, I'm sure you'd agree that $297 would be completely fair to know how to create an emotional bond that was unbreakable. In fact, if I gave you a magic wand that created the most intimate connection you've ever experienced with a man, you'd give every last cent you had. And I was going to leave it at that low price of $297 until Peggy came to see me. She was recently divorced with 2 small children. They were blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girls that were 7 and 5 years old. Peggy wanted my help because their daughters couldn't stop crying at night. When I asked them what was wrong, the oldest simply said, "Because Daddy doesn't want to live with us anymore." I paused for a moment as her 5-year-old sister began to cry. Then Peggy started crying too. For the next 40 minutes, I sat with this broken family just trying to help them put the pieces back together. When they left my office, I shut the door behind them and felt my anger rise within me. Now it was personal. The affair industry had claimed another victim. Their father and Peggy's husband decided that he really wanted something else besides his family. I wonder what would have happened if I had been able to share the bonding code with Peggy before that fateful day. I realized how desperate the situation was. Every woman was at risk unless I shared what I had created. I needed to get this into every woman's hands, so I called my office manager and told her to cut the price to $197. After I hung up the phone, I thought some more and called her back to lower the price again to one single payment of $97, even though she debated with me for over 30 minutes, claiming I was almost giving it away. The next morning, I went to my office, and still the memory of Peggy and her 2 daughters haunted me. As I sat in my chair, I could still see the face of that precious 5-year-old girl who kept asking me, what did I do wrong? I realized I couldn't compete against the affair industry with their massive budgets. They entice me like a drug dealer that offers samples until they get their victim hooked. I can't give away samples like they do. I didn't have their vast resources, but I could cut the price down to the bare bones to make it super easy for every woman to protect their relationship from those vultures. So if you act right now, you can have the complete program for an additional 50% off at only $49. And frankly, at this price, you'll kick yourself for not taking me up on my offer, because my office manager isn't going to sit quietly and let me give away so much for just $49, especially since my one-on-one clients pay me thousands of dollars for these same secrets. She's demanding that I end this discount offer ASAP, so get it now for $49 while you still can. And just to take away every excuse you might have, I want to take all the risk for you because I know how important it is to feel safe and secure. I'm a proud member of the Better Business Bureau with an A+ rating for the past 8 years and counting. I'll even make sure your purchase is 100% safe and secure by using ClickBank to process your order. And I'm so confident in the bonding code, I'll even let you try it for a full 60 days. That's right. Try it first and see if you don't have a deeper connection with that one special man. If you're unhappy with the bonding code for any reason whatsoever, simply return to this site and contact me for a full refund, and my staff will refund your purchase. No questions asked. Since I'm taking all the risk for you, you can't afford to miss out on the pathway to his heart. Just click the button below, and you'll get the bonding code for the discounted price of just $49. But this is only a test price, and I can't guarantee you'll get this price if you come back later. Even though the bonding code will melt your man's heart, I also know that some men have been injured in the past. They are commitment phobic, and sometimes they don't even give a relationship a chance to work. That's why I sought out relationship expert T-Dub Jackson, who specifically works with men that just can't commit. I hounded him until he agreed to tell me how a woman can literally flip a man's commitment switch, even if he's sworn off ever letting a woman get close. I've recorded his very detailed plan called the Commitment Switch. Even though this is worth $49, it's yours absolutely free just for trying the bonding code. I also have another gift for you called Why Men Leave. In this members-only presentation, I'll show you some of the ways women innocently destroy their relationship. If you're not aware of these relationship killers, then you could accidentally trigger his fear of commitment, cause him to misinterpret what you say, and even sow seeds of doubt about his love for you. In this presentation, you'll see how to not only avoid these deadly mistakes, but how to actually melt his doubts before they lead him to him leaving you forever. This currently sells for $49, but I'm giving you this special training. And if that wasn't enough, I'll even include a bonus option of a free 30-day trial to the Women Men Adora Club, where I will work with you and a select group of other smart and successful women so you can ask me your questions about your most pressing relationship needs. With video instructions and access to the members-only forums, I'll be right with you, side by side, as you apply these life-changing principles. We've already had several members who have gotten married, while others frequently say, wow, this actually works. These bonuses alone are worth over $197, but I'm giving them to you for free just for trying the bonding code today. All you have to do is push the Order Now button below. You'll have a chance to review your order before being taken to my 100% secure order page. Simply fill out your details there using a credit card, debit card, or PayPal. In addition, I'll also share with you details about my platinum level enhanced training. So look for that after you enter your information. Then in less than 5 minutes, you'll have the secret code that will keep your man from being lured away. So now we're at a crossroads, because only two things can happen from here on out. A, you can ignore this video and stay right there in blissful ignorance, content in the belief that as long as a man loves you, he'll never leave you, that he'll never look at Facebook, and the hookup industry won't ever be able to reach him. Ever. And if you're willing to take that risk, then so be it. Or you can make the one decision that could change your life, where you let me take all the risk and try the bonding code and discover how to protect your relationship from the billion-dollar industry that will ruthlessly try and pull you apart. How to create a bond that's faster, stronger, and deeper than you've ever imagined. All you need to do to make that happen is hit the Order Now button below this video. If you're still watching, I bet you still have some questions. Here are the most common ones I get. Number one, how quickly will I get the bonding code program? Actually, it's really instantaneous. You'll simply fill out your information, and you'll be taken into a thank you page where you'll get immediate access. If you join the Women Men Adore Club, you'll just fill out your information. In really about 3 minutes, you can start changing your life with this new information. Question number two, I'm not in a relationship now. How does the bonding code apply to me, or is it just for those in a relationship? That's a great question. If you're single, you'll see how to set the tone, because if you set the right tone, you'll be able to speed up the process even faster. What you're really going to learn is primarily something what I call tension, and the right kind of tension, which makes such a great first impression. So often women will make the mistake of being either overly accommodating or they're too distant and give me the wrong impression. You'll learn the right balance between the two. And also, what I find is probably the most critical area early in a relationship is going to be those first 2 or 3 months. That's really where you'll be setting the tone that will impact the rest of your relationship. If you're in a relationship, you'll know exactly which phase he's in, and you'll know how to respond and react according to that phase. Primarily, we're going to do this through what I call emotional triggers. And these are the things that men are susceptible to and how you interact with him. And it's really more of a guiding process. The nice thing is he won't even realize what you're doing. Question number three. I've read every relationship book out there. How is the bonding code program different? Because what we're doing is we're addressing this in a proactive way. You know, a lot of relationships will focus on communication and trust, and I did that for years with my clients. But what I found is that even doing that, a lot of times men still leave women. You know, I've had women that were smart, successful, and very accomplished. And these were, beautiful. And most of the time, these men were communicating well with them. And they were still ensnared by what I call the affair vultures. So the bonding code is like a firewall around your relationship that's critical. And it actually keeps it from drifting, off the path. And it keeps a man emotionally dependent upon you. And it's something that's just done day after day where a man doesn't even realize what you're doing, but he finds himself enthralled with you constantly. Okay, so let's do one more question. Question number 5. Bob, this sounds great, but does it really work? I thought about this question. I realized instead of me telling you, why don't I just show you some of the letters and emails I get from people that have listened to my advice?